With the Buffalo Bills releasing Charles Clay, that means that the tight end position becomes an obvious position of need for the Buffalo Bills. Who do you want to look out for at this year's NFL Combine? Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome back for another edition of this Combine Breakdown, getting you ready for the 2019 NFL Combine. A little bit more than a week away, guys. But before we do that, however, just want to remind everyone, if you haven't already subscribed to Believers Talk, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like this video, leave a comment. Always enjoy getting back to my commenters after the videos. So if you have any thoughts about this video, leave a comment and I'll happily talk to you about them. I'm going to go over my top 10 tight ends coming into the NFL Combine. If you guys disagree with this list, if you guys have a name that I do not mention, please let me know. So welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and we are continuing our coverage heading into the NFL Combine. We're not just looking at positions, we're looking at positions of need for the Buffalo Bills. Okay, so we covered the wide receiver position. We're going to move on into the tight end position now. Talk about those tight ends. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills made some headline news, for Buffalo Bills fans at least, by releasing Charles Clay just last week. Not a surprising move for a lot of Bills fans, so we weren't surprised to see that. However, that does leave us with only one tight end on our current roster, and that's Jason Croom. So we obviously need to look tight end. Now, if you have been paying attention to the news, some of you probably have, some of you haven't. Jesse James, tight end out of formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is now a free agent, and that name has been circulating as far as the Buffalo Bills showing interest. However, you want more than two tight ends on your roster, so even if we do get a veteran guy in free agency, which I think we will, whether it be Jesse James or somebody else, Jared Cook's available, some other names are available. We went over that in the free agent edition of the tight ends. But I think even if we do get a veteran tight end in free agency, still need to look at this NFL draft and say, who's the young guy? Who's the new young guy? Jason Croom is still going to be his second year, so he's a young guy too. So we do need that veteran leadership, but who will be the next young guy? Not sure how any of you feel about the Jesse James talk. Not sure if you guys like Jesse James or not. I personally like Jesse James, but I want to do a quick comparison for you. Jesse James has been in the league for 4 years. How long was Charles Clay with the Buffalo Bills? That's right, 4 years. So in those 4 years, let's do a side-by-side comparison. Now, obviously, things are different. Jesse James had Heath Miller there for a little bit in Pittsburgh, as a backup tight end for a little while as well. But let's do a little comparing. Why not? See how they look together side by side. So if you look at the 4 years of Jesse James' career so far, that's 56 games. He has 120 receptions, 1,189 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Now we all know that should be 10. You look back 2 years ago, that stretch play against New England ruled incomplete, which is ridiculous. One of the reasons why the rule change happened this past season was due to that play. But anyway, so those are the numbers for Jesse James. Now let's look at the guy we just released, right? Charles Clay, who signed with the Arizona Cardinals like 2 days after we released him. But let's take a look at his numbers over the 4 seasons in Buffalo. You're talking about 53 games, so 3 games less than Charles Clay, 178 receptions, that's 58 receptions more, 1,822 yards, about 650 yards more, and the same 9 touchdowns. So, are we looking at getting a guy for agency with the same type of production? Now, again, Jesse James is younger, and Jesse James was a backup for a little bit. One of those seasons, his rookie year, he only played in 8 games. So, there are things you can take away from this and say that that's not a fair comparison. And I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying that we shouldn't sign Jesse James. I am just pointing out the numbers. That's the numbers as they are right now. I want to know what your opinion is. Should we sign Jesse James or should we look somewhere else? Like I said, Jared Cook's available. Some good tight ends. Tyler Eifert, I believe, is also available as well. But there's some other tight ends in there that we should maybe take a look at. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. But again, we want to talk about the NFL Combine. Let's go into the Combine thinking, hey, we need to look at tight ends now, right? Because we only have one on our active roster right now. So we need to look at that tight end position and say, who do the Buffalo Bills want to get? Now, normally, the tight end position doesn't have much depth to it. This draft is a little different. This draft does have some good tight ends. We should expect to see one go in the first round, possibly, which isn't always the case. So let's go through this list. The top tight end on everyone's board, the top tight end on everyone's list should be T.J. Hockenson, tight end out of Iowa. Had 49 receptions this past season for 760 yards, 6 touchdowns. The reason why he should be on everyone's board, a lot of the other people on this list are coming into their own, right? They're still college players, and we have to understand that, it's going to take them a year or two to mold. This guy is already a good run blocker, already a good receiving tight end. He has both of them covered, okay? So he is already set to be probably a 3-down back or a 3-down tight end in the NFL. So he's already the most NFL ready. You hear that term a lot with quarterbacks, NFL ready. He's probably the most NFL ready tight end coming out of college. Going down to number 2, I have Irv Smith Jr., tight end out of Alabama. 2018 had 44 receptions, 710 yards, 7 touchdowns. Again, another Alabama product. Seems like every position you go through, you go talk about an Alabama product. One reason why I really like Irv Smith Jr. is because his father actually played in the NFL. So you want to talk about a little NFL pedigree in your family. His father played in the NFL, was drafted in 1993, I believe, by the Saints. And then his uncle also played as a tight end in the NFL for the Atlanta Falcons in the early 90s as well. So you talk about NFL pedigree, NFL family, sometimes those things matter. Sometimes those things help out when you are looking to join an NFL team and when NFL teams are looking towards you. So that's why I have him number 2. Caleb Wilson, tight end out of UCLA. Have him as my third tight end on the board. Better blocking tight end than receiving tight end, but he did have 60 receptions this year, so you can't deny those numbers. Good numbers there. 965 yards, 4 touchdowns for this season. Needs to get a little bit stronger. Again, these are young kids, college kids. They need to grow a little bit in the NFL, but they have plenty of time to do that. Get in the weight room, be a little bit stronger, become a better blocker, and then with those receiving numbers, you might be a lights out tight end at the next level. And before my list is Noah Fant from Iowa. Again, these Iowa kids, they had 2 tight ends at the same time. So you talk about T.J. Hockenson being the number 1 overall tight end this season. Number 4, Noah Fant, Iowa, 39 receptions, 519 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Needs to improve on his blocking. He's not that great of a blocker. Was actually put out in a lot of his films. You'll see him. He's actually put out towards the wide receiver slot position, not lined up on the line of scrimmage for the blocking. So he needs to improve on that if he wants to be a tight end in the NFL. So hopefully he can do that. Again, not as polished as Hockenson, who's the number 1 tight end on my board, but he has time to improve. All these guys do. So number 5, I'm looking at CJ Conrad, tight end out of Kentucky. 30 receptions this year, 318 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He has good hands, good route. He runs good routes. He's a good blocker. The only downfall really for this kid is he's not a fast guy. He's pretty slow. He'll run a slow 40 this year at the combine. So look out for that. I mean, he hopes that someone's slow on the start clock and fast on the stop clock when he runs his 40, and that those numbers will actually project him higher if he does run a good 40 time. But that's the one knock on him. He does run a slow 40 time. He's a slower player, but he's a good blocker, good receiving tight end. So we'll see what happens with him. Number 6, Kalen Smith, tight end out of Stanford, 47 receptions, 635 yards, 2 TDs. Guys, tight ends out of Stanford, they just seem to be showing up. They do well. You talk about Stanford has a NFL system already, so you think that he would know an NFL system coming up. So I have him at number 6. Probably would have done a little better last year. Some people say he should have stayed in college for another year, but coming out a little bit early. That's why I'm down at number 6. 7, Jace Sternberger, Texas A&M tight end, 48 receptions, 832 yards, 10 TDs, 10 touchdowns this season. Obviously a huge red zone threat, and that's something the Buffalo Bills are always, and any NFL team, always looking for a good red zone threat. But you want to talk about a red zone threat. Let's talk about the number 8 guy on my board, Zach Gentry, tight end out of Michigan. My man's is 6'8". 6 feet 8 inches tall. Talk about a matchup problem for linebackers. Talk about a matchup problem for slot corners. Talk about a red zone threat. You're talking 6'8" tight end. Now, again, a little slow, not great off the snap, but you can't lie with the numbers. Last season, he had 32 catches, 514 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So obviously, he wasn't used as a red zone threat too much for Michigan. But again, 6'8" creates a lot of mismatch problems for corners and linebackers in the NFL. Number 9, you got Alec Mack, tight end at Notre Dame, 36 catches, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. So it's pretty even around on the board there. 10 yards per reception, and then 3 touchdowns. So not much to say about him. Obviously, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I actually don't have him as high as some other people. But Notre Dame, more of a run-first type team, defense type team. You talk about when they had Wimbush in as quarterback, talk about running quarterback, not looking for his wide receivers and tight ends as much, and that might be affecting the numbers, but then they brought on the other kid, good throwing quarterback, and still putting up 36 receptions, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then number 10, I got Des Raymond, tight end at Utah State, 27 receptions, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns this season for Utah State. So that is my top 10, who to look for, tight ends at the NFL Combine this year. Again, Combine just a week away, and we will have you covered right here on Believers Talk. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, as we will continue to give you coverage, not just of the Buffalo Bills. Always big news in football. We just heard, of course, about Robert Kraft and his little craftiness, possibly facing some legal discipline, and then also discipline, of course, from the NFL. So let me know what you think about that. But there's always news circulating around the NFL. I'll cover you when it comes to news circulating the Buffalo Bills and all Buffalo sports. You talk about the Buffalo Bulls, you talk about the Buffalo Sabres, you talk about the Buffalo Bisons, you talk about the Buffalo Bills. I got you covered. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, leave a comment. I will talk to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.